My name is Jason Miller, founder of AAspennow Solutions, and we're about to unlock the power of ServiceNow. I'd like to start off by thanking all 3,295 subscribers in over 80 countries globally. If you believe in transferring knowledge to those who need it most, please click subscribe. Your user data will not be transferred to anyone outside of AAspennow without your consent. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of weeks since I last posted a video, so I thought I would post another one on a topic or a couple of topics that I thought that would be rather interesting. Since we just had the end of the quarter, and for some of us it's the second quarter, some of us it's the third quarter, but depending on how your organization works, the end of June, March, let's see here, what else? September and December all marks the end of the quarter, and that means it's time to do those lovely reports. So the topic for today is going to be reporting stuff people forget about, and this is going to be in Orlando. And just going to start off with something that a function in the platform that I think that is overlooked a lot is how to create a report from a list. So basically, when we come into the platform, sometimes we'll have a list like this and we'll say, okay, we want to run a report based off of this table right here. So this table is a custom table in my personal instance called Aspen RP, or record producer. And, we run a couple of filters on it and say, okay, this looks kind of like the data that we want to have. We want everything that's closed, and then we do a couple other things. And then a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go immediately to the reports and they'll type in report, and then they'll go in there and do create new and all that stuff. But I think that's just this is one of the features that's overlooked in the platform. So if I want to do it by category, and we'll see here that our filter is everything that's closed, or better yet, we'll do assign to. How about assign to? That sounds great. What we can do is right click and then do a bar chart straight from the list, and then it will construct it for us. Also, one great thing about this feature is that it maintains this nice little filter here. So if you have filters that are saved in your list, meaning that if you go into let's see here, like right, I wish I had a list open right here, and you have a couple of filters like closed requests open or ready to go, then you can go, it'll make it a lot easier for you. Just be a couple of clicks to create a report. So it'll bring me in here, it'll create the report, and then I can take it from there. If I want to, I can change the source type if I want to do a data source off of that, but again, it's going to wipe out this filter, right? So that's kind of the beauty of this. We have a bar chart here as specified. We could also do some other things too with it. And then, like, if we want to add data labels right here in the style tab, we could do so. We could also change this coloring here at this point. I don't know, let's go with New York, right? So let's see what kind of New York we got. I think we got New York's blues. I don't know, like maybe blue through or something like that. And just change it up, make it a little snazzier. And then we could go ahead and hit save, and that would save a report. We'll also notice that it gives us a report name. This is the bar chart that was created on whatever date by whomever. We could save it, send it to whoever we want. So that's one of the ones I think is overlooked. Another one's data sets. So if you don't know what a data set is, not a problem. A lot of people, they get this request from people at a higher level, or if you're a program manager or developer, this will come in handy too, because I can tell you as a developer, sometimes they'll come to me and say, hey, we need all these reports created. So right here, what you're looking at is, I just called it assign to data set. So let's just take a look at the construct here. We have our table running off of Aspen RP, our type, bar chart, nothing fancy. Our configuration is going to be group by the assigned to. Let's click on additional group by. We'll notice one thing is that when we use data sets, it'll tell us here that we can't do an additional group by. So I just wanted to note that. And you're probably saying, well, okay, Jason, like, where do I go ahead and create this data set? Right here, this little icon. So we're going to click on it, and then we're going to see that this opens up. Now, your Drill down, you're probably familiar with, especially with single score reports, especially on dashboards. When you click on the number, it opens up in a list. But here's our data set. So what you would do is you would click on Add Data Set, and then it will take you, and I'll go into the data set that I created for this one. So basically, the scenario worked like this. People are creating or fulfilling tasks on the Aspen RP table, but they're also doing incidents at the same time. So in some organizations, they'll be doing both. And management wants to know, for the assigned to, how many record producer requests, or whatever we're calling them for the Aspen table, have they fulfilled in the same time period as the incidents. For this one, I didn't use time period. I just did the bulk of it. Actually, I did right here. So in our filter, so I did create it on this month or last month for the incidents. And we'll see here, it's all broken out with our assigned tos at the bottom. And then our configuration, it has to be the same group by, so just keep that in mind. So if you're working on the incident table or any table out there, you want to make sure that this field is on the same table. Now, incident and Aspen both extend what table? Task. So assigned to is really on the task table, but they have those that field, those two tables have that one field in common. So that's the one thing to keep in the back of your head there when you're creating these things. And then also with our styling, you'll probably want to do something that's very distinct and different from the original report. When we click Save Dataset, you'll come back here, and we're going to notice real quick, and it's loading. Okay, so here we have one is blue and the other one is green. Also notice that our filter is different, right? So for the incidents, or is created last month or this month, this one is only stayed as close complete. So make sure you're careful if you're going to do something that's time bound or going over the same time range, that both data sets, or the report and the data set, have both the filters the same, if that's what you want. So they kind of leave that open for you to determine on your own. The third thing is related lists. So our related list filter, a lot of people, they go into a report and say, okay, I'm trying to figure out, the requirement is I need to figure out how many active requests I currently have where the SLA is breached. So how do we set this up? Generally, something like this would probably go on a dashboard. And I don't really understand why people want to know what's already been breached. It's active. I mean, if it's already dead in the water, it's already going to count against you. You really can't change that, right? It's not like you can rewind time and then take care of it. I kind of like to know the ones that are about to be breached so I can go ahead and proactively take care of those. But it seems like organizations, for whatever reason, they want to look at this metric. So you know what I say, if the ducks are quacking, you got to feed them. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, since you'll probably be asked to set this up. And what tells me that is because I've been asked to set this type of report up. So again, our type of report, single score. Our configure is going to be on account. All right, we could do a couple other things too. If we want to do averages, sum, count distinct, and so forth, we can do that. Our style here, not much for styling. It's a single score. And then down here, we're going to notice what? Aspen RP, or record producer, active is true, and then task SLA has breached is true. Now, make sure that if you want to know for a specific SLA definition, that you define that here. So if you want to say SLA, because you might have two SLA definitions running on it. You might have a response SLA, and then you might have a resolution SLA. So at that point, you would say whichever one you want. So if you want to do assignment, hit run, that'll change it, or maybe not. Let's try this one here, Aspen complete, and let's see if it changes it. See, it changed it there. So now we have two. So if we're to click on the two, it'll bring us out, and this is our drill down, right? Brings us into these two. And you might get questions about this, because if we go into a couple of these records, which I'll open up 2 of them, they might say, hey, well, look, one is, well, it looks like both of these are bad. Now let's take a look at our other record here. Maybe this one has none. So we'll go ahead and, sorry, my instance is running a little bit slow. And we'll go down here. Well, it looks like it did count at the parent level, right? Because this is the child. These are the child tasks right here. So it counted 1 here and then 1 here. So really we have a total of 4 SLAs, if you think about it, right, that are breached. And I think I had the original 14 in a list here just to save time, but I kind of wanted to switch it up just a little bit. Now our next one is report ranges. So what's a report range? Well, in order to get to the report range module, you can type in T space RAN, R-A-N, and it'll bring up report ranges. So report ranges you can use for a couple of different things, but most commonly I found that when clients are asking me to build reports, they're going to want to know based on a certain amount of time. So right here what you'll see is I have 3 of them that I created today, and they're just basically the time range on the amount of days that the item had been open. So let's just take a look at one of these. So if we click into one of them, we'll see here this label is 50, and basically what I'm saying is 50 days. So our upper value duration is 49, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, and we're basing it off of the element or the field created on the Aspen RP table. I even gave it a color. What is the color going to help us with? The color is going to help us right here. As you can see, I have another one that's 100. It has a unique color also, and 200 also does too. And this helps us out with, you know, if we want to define things that, you know, maybe the platform isn't doing for us normally, we want to create our own unique range, we can do that right here. Also, sometimes I think with these ranges, what will happen is like we'll have a negative value down there, and I haven't really experimented with trying to get that to go away. I know with like SLAs sometimes when I was doing reports, it would create like something underneath the 0 for whatever reason. So, you know, maybe this will help for that, resolve that type of issue. But, you know, going back here, if we take a look at our upper value duration, there is no lower value duration is the way I built these in the past. So you're gonna, if you want your first one to be up to 5 days, or 0 to 5 days, then really all you're gonna fill in right here, you know, you would change this 49 to 4, so it'd be 4 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, whatever, and then that would be like your first bucket of time. So you can use that. And also, if we look at the report construct here, you'll see that you know, nothing really fancy going on here. Simple bar chart, right? But our configuration, what am I grouping by? I'm grouping by the created, right? Because this is the field where it created that range. And I'm sure there's other stuff you can do with report ranges, but I just wanted to show you that you can create like your own unique time buckets here if you wanted to. I don't know why I had 550 at the bottom there. I think I was experimenting with moving like this one over here based on the label value, but it looks like it wouldn't go. So next one is database table. I did a report, I don't know, a couple months ago on this Aspen SLA table, and what the purpose was, or the requirement was to get all the fields from the Aspen RP table and the Task SLA table into one database view to accommodate reporting. And the main reason why, and here's the database view right here. You can go back to that video if you want to see like all the details of how to set that up, but it's really helpful for reporting, because if we want to get categories which aren't on the task table, so if you have a field, excuse me, not categories, but if you have a field that's on, like let's say on the incident table we built a subcategory field, but that's not going to be on the task table, it'll be on the incident table, we would use the incident SLA table to facilitate the reporting. So one thing I did was I came up with a database view report here just to show you, right? right here. I just call it database view. Our type here is a time series, and I'm just using strict columns. Our configuration is Aspen categories, what we're grouping by, using grouped bars. I think I also did a data table down below, and then I said, okay, trend by the created on. I said by month. As you can see here, what's our construct? I want to see the has breached is true. I'm using this SLA definition, Aspen assignment, and then I'm basically saying I want it within the month of April, right? So that's for this one here. These are all the blues, and the way I know that is that our styles are New York blues, dark to light 6, and then of course what did I do? I put in right here our data set, right, a second one called database view 2, and if we take a look at that, we'll notice I put in a different SLA definition, and the reason why was because I didn't have any numbers to show you just for the demo with both data sets, because it was has breached is false or true, right? So I just didn't have enough records there to show you, so I used the other definition. And down here I colored it a little bit differently, and then, you know, if we go back to the finished product, if you will, we'll see here that, you know, the main point of this is to see the has breached true versus false by category within a certain time range. I'm sure if you really wanted to, you know, filter it even more, and you're trying to run it on like by assigned to or something like that, you could probably get these to line up one against the other and just have two straight columns on the same chart for the same time frame. Sometimes I'll get asked that, you know, I want to do 3 months going down the line. I want to see it by category, and then I want to see the has breached numbers all in one chart. So that's kind of like my, you know, my initial thought as to like how to construct that. The next thing is a dashboard filter. So yeah, we can use these types of charts right here. So, excuse me, reports. So if we go back to the one report that I created here, and let's just go to our types. See these three right here? Donut, pie, and semi-donut. We can use those as filters on a dashboard. And let me just demo this for you. If I click on critical right here, and get rid of it, we'll see only standard appears. And you see how this chart changed? This, this report changed, or widget, I guess, because we're on a dashboard. Now let's take a look at how we set this up though. Let's click on our gear icon. We need to make sure that we are following the interactive filter for this one, right? And then for this one, we need to make sure it's acting as the interactive filters. And sometimes dashboards will get sort of messed up because we'll have a whole bunch of these doing both, and people are clicking all around. They're like, yo, why is my data changing? Why is the data off? I have like 0 values and whatever. And I'll tell them like, hey, look, you have this one acting as an interactive filter, and then you filtered all the way down to 0 because you're clicking around. So just be cognizant of that when you're setting up your dashboards. The next one is scheduled reports. So for scheduled reports, if we take a look at this database view report and say, okay, now we want to schedule it and send it to someone, I feel like sometimes this is forgotten about. So we would click on, first off, to get here, we would click on this right here, the sharing. We'd click on schedule. And remember, you have to have, I believe it's report scheduler, the role in order to do this. And if you're a report admin, you know, you'll have that role contained in there, so don't worry about that. And let's just break this down real quick. So we have the name here. It fills in our report. Put in whatever user you want, the groups. Here's our active flag. We have a whole bunch of different options here for when we want to run it. So you can do it not only on demand, but you can do it monthly, periodically, etc. We can make it conditional. This box will pop up if we check that box, and we can script it out. We can also omit if no records. What that means is that it won't send if it's a 0 value. So if we're running a report that's just showing us like how many priority 1 incidents and we don't have any for that time period, if there's 0, the report will not send. We can pop in our subject. We have an HTML field for the body of our email. PDF landscape, PDF and PNG are our options here. Also, we can zip it up and then we can include it with another report. So as you can see here, I have another one that was scheduled. It will send them together. And I showed that in another video, maybe like 2 years ago or something. One requirement that I've gotten in the past was how to remove this email addresses, because the organization didn't want a random like email address being put in there. If you want to do that, then what you're going to do is you would come to schedule reports. And this is another thing too. Another question had been like, look, I scheduled all these reports, I don't know where to find them. Just type in ed space rep right here in your filter navigator. The module will come up under reports, and then you'll see here you have all your scheduled reports right here. And then if we were to say, okay, which one, let's see here, do we want to look at, let's say just Jason's report. This will bring up this screen, or I think I brought up another SLA report before in order to expedite this video. So if I want to get rid of that email addresses field, I can just simply take it off the form by doing form layout here within the actual form itself. Another thing you can do too is if you elevate your roles, and to elevate my role, so I have to be a sec admin. If I elevate my roles, it'll refresh the screen. It might take a second. I can come in here, and of course I'm going to have to refresh this screen too, so that way it picks it up. What I can do is right click on this field right here. I can do configure security on the fields, and then I can say, all right, in order to be able to read this field or whatever, like making an admin, and then it won't be available anymore for anyone except for admins. That's another way you could do it too, if you don't want everybody else to be able to send them to random email addresses. I wouldn't delete the field. You could probably deactivate it, but again, I don't know if I would do that either, but it's up to you. And always talk to your senior developers about stuff like that. Next, we'll move on to report sources. What is a report source, you may ask? Here's our active breach single score report that we looked at before, the one with the task SLA has breached and the related list conditions. You'll see here source type. That's where our source comes from. Now, how do we create it? That's a great question, right? You'll see here save as data source. So I'm not sure if anyone from ServiceNow is watching, but it's kind of confusing because here we're saying save as data source, but the actual term and the filter is report sources. So just it's mild semantics, but it'd be great if this said save as report source. I don't know, maybe originally data source was for performance analytics or something, but it would be nice if it said save as report source. I'm sure you could probably go into this option and manually hack it yourself if you wanted to, but I'm not sure if it's worth your time. But anyway, we would go in here. This UI page will come up with create a new report source. We go ahead and create it. Just put a name value here. Notice it brings in our filters for both the parent table and then also whatever related lists or child tables that we have here. We could save it. Of course, it's going to tell me I need a mandatory field. I'm going to get out of there. And then at that point, when we come back in and we want to use it, we'll see here that we have data source, and I'd already created one called Aspen active breached, and we'll see here it gives us our conditions. Now notice one thing, that we can't really modify these, so if we want to create additional filters, what are we going to do? We're going to click on this filter right here and then add the additional filters we want to. But I think this is a great tool, and I'm not sure if people really use the report sources a lot and on the daily when they're creating reports. Here's the one that I created, and I think we already talked about this. One other nifty thing that you might not know about is that when we go back into the report source, see down here the related links? Look at this UI action, reports using this report source. So again, if you lost track of which reports are using this report source, you could click on this right here and it would bring up this related list right here. As you can see here, I already had it filtered just in case, and then we could go back into the report if we wanted to, and it would just it brings us to this screen. Then we would go into edit report to see the actual report source listed there right here above the filter. So here it is. Here's all the stuff that we did today for reporting stuff. We created a report from the list. We talked about data sets, talked about how to use the related list filters in the reports, showed off the report range or set of ranges that I created for the Aspen RP table, talked about the importance of using a database table and how management will be able to access records on the, not records, but fields on the table that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to from the task SLA table. Talk about our dashboard filter with the pie charts there, donuts, semi-donuts. We have our schedule report, and I put a little note here for the email just to make sure, as a reminder, I showed you how to remove that email address just in case you get the same requirement, because I've already had it from at least 3 customers, so I just want to make sure you're taken care of too. And our report sources and that nifty little UI action that'll show us the reports that are using that report source. My name is Jason Miller, founder of AAspennow Solutions, and we just unlocked the power of ServiceNow.